Well, anyway, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. We have no public hearing, no delegation, any additions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. Lyle? Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, previous minutes. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, somebody wish to move the minutes? George Lee? Any question on George Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. From the last meeting, we had a delegation that brought concerns about snow removal, so Kim has done up a bit of a spreadsheet there of some of the costs of
Don't think I added the sheet that you saw,
Oh,
but
okay,
this,
sorry.
everything
Yeah,
was
no,
documented in that.
so it gives you a bit of an idea. Like I had talked about, depending on what we did, it would be a mill to 2 mills. A mill brings in approximately $175,000. You can see that the cost estimate could be anywhere between 75,000 to, well, it'd be more than 75, because if we do depreciation on the grader and the loader and the gravel trucks, we'd have to bring them into the 25-year plan a little sooner, because they'll wear out quicker. But anyway, we're probably looking at a minimum of $100,000 to do more than what we do. And you can see if you tender it out or hire it out, it would be about $100,000 per snowfall. So it kind of gives a person a bit of a guesstimate. So if somebody questions whether we can just say this is potentially what we could do. There was an option of creating a split shift, but again, we still need to have more staff for that, and what it would cost us to do it that way. So
I like to see the numbers up there just to kind of put it in perspective, because this year we had 2 or 3 times the amount of snow in February alone,
Right.
what we usually get. But this time, on my wife's Facebook memory from last year, we were out in the dog park throwing the ball around
yeah,
for the dog, and if we would have had someone extra hired on to do what? It's hard to plan for.
a year like this.
Yeah.
I think if we're, theoretically, like some of the communities, I'll pick like Fernie as an example, that get this on an annual basis, well then, I think you'd probably anticipate that you're gonna have to do something, but.
You can plan for that, but weren't you saying that since you kept records, or the town has kept records, this is the worst since 2003?
2003, for overtime. We've put in the most overtime in January, February, March.
So I think that, this is a great opportunity. Administration went through it, came up with some suggestions. This might be something that we might want to throw on the agenda as an item for our June meeting that we have, and so that our public meeting that we have is say that, so that if people don't get a look at it, that here's a question that came about, asked by a ratepayer. And this is some of the numbers we kind of came up with.
So for 100,000, you can usually learn to live with a few.
Well, especially if you hired a contractor to come in and
yeah.
do it all in the 4.5 days or 5 days. 100,000 of snowfall. This year we'd have probably, theoretically done 3 or 4 snowfalls that way. So you'd have probably looking at $400,000 or $500,000. If you wanted to do it. The whole community.
And the key on that one is depending on availability. They'll give you the price, but the price goes up to whoever gets them first. So you're competing with Calgary, Lethbridge, the bigger centers. Even though they can come in and do clear our community out in 4 days, they want to go to a place where they're going to be working 20, especially if they're making that kind of dollars.
Well, and they do have an investment too, because they'd come in with large, and the other thing that would be a potential problem is if they're gonna do 3 blocks an hour, as an example, then you're gonna have to anticipate, you're gonna have to have all the vehicles removed in those 3 blocks to be able to do it this way, because if they have vehicles parked along the street, it's not gonna be able to they're gonna have to cut back on their time. They just calculated that on a clear block, we'll be able to do it in the next amount of period of time. So now you're gonna say, well, we're gonna be able to do 30 blocks per day. So these 30 blocks are not gonna have anybody park on them during that whole period of time.
So a snow route, just like Calgary.
Yeah, so you're gonna take, theoretically, 1/4 of your community is a snow route every snowfall, because, if it takes you 4 or 5 days, or 1/5, of your community. So it's not as easy as a person thinks that it can be, I think. But the numbers here.
The contractor I talked to this year built an 11-yard bucket for their loader. So they can fill a tandem truck in 1 bucket. So, gives you an idea of the magnitude of what they're doing for snow.
But again, too, you would not want vehicles parked on that street, because how do they get around
They can't
it?
maneuver with that.
And if they do, so I think that these numbers are, semi-realistic, but they're out skewed a little bit because, you're anticipating them to be open, clean streets, and unfortunately, people do park on our streets.
When did they do Main Street? Early in the morning?
Well,
They do it as quick as they can get.
That's
over,
right.
Because it's the first thing on the priority because of emergency vehicles.
So they were hitting it, what?
Oh,
5:30?
5:30 is when the guys were starting most days.
and even then, there's a couple of vehicles that are, left over from the evening, or there's some vehicles that have been on the street for.
They're pretty easy to find out where the spots of vehicles haven't moved right now because they're about a foot taller than the rest of the vehicles in town.
But anyway, it was a bit of a information for council. Any other questions on it? Okay, well, do you need any?
Receive it for information.
Yeah, somebody wishing for
Lauren's got a question.
I was just gonna ask a question. Will this information be forwarded to Nikki to let her know?
We can, if you want
Maybe
somebody to make.
include that in the motion to receive it for information and
Send
to
a copy
send
to her.
send
I
a
think
copy
a
of
copy
the
to her, just so she has
administration.
an idea, because like you say, as a ratepayer, you don't really know, it's gonna be a little bit more, but then you see this and you go, oh, it's a lot more.
So,
So I wouldn't mind.
to forward the
seeing it,
administration report
So-
just as is to.
Yeah.
So we're just moving that.
I
Do you
think
have a question?
I was just gonna ask if we were gonna let the people just post it on our website or something so the public could see. But I think sending it to Nikki would be a great idea, because then
Well, she took
it
the effort
shows
to
that
come.
we, yeah, she took the effort and not just posted something, then the least we can do is show her that we.
I think you're right, Tom, taking it to the public forum.
Well, I just thought, it's something we could throw on, just say, we did have a ratepayer that came and, it was backed with some concerns from citizens in our community. And this is what was done and could be done.
And having said that, by and large, every ratepayer I talk to is happy.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there are some communities that definitely do more, and there are some that are definitely do less, so
Yeah.
we're fortunate what we got, so. Okay, so Lorna has a motion to this for information, that from snow removal concerns, and also send a letter off to Nikki on it. Any other questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. Okay, cash statements ending February 28th. Any questions, concerns?
Is this where we're supposed to be this time?
Yes, there's money in the bank.
Please, please highlight it if it isn't.
No, money in our account and, of course, our reserves. We haven't done a lot of capital spending yet, so things haven't changed as far as our reserves.
Okay, any other questions, or?
When do we usually see some fluctuation, more movement, more difference?
Oh, as soon as you start spending capital, so street programs, things like that.
And it does help, like years and years ago, it used to be substantially worse when we didn't have people paying on a monthly basis. But because there's a monthly basis, we do get a little bit more income coming in during January, February, March, April, May, which never used to come. It used to all come in June, so those first 5 months potentially were not very friendly in that months, and we used to have to borrow substantial amount of money to tie this over.
We currently still maintain a borrowing bylaw. You'll see it again this year of about 400,000. That's what we used to have, but with money that's coming in now, we actually have money in the account. So, yeah, we're able to manage it a lot easier with the money that comes in on the tips.
And theoretically, you know, if we could get everybody, or 90% of the people on that monthly basis, you know, it would definitely make cash flow so much nicer. I mean, there's still, like Kim says, you know, you still have those capital items that come out, large capital items that come out in a big lump sum, but, you know, you'd have more of a cash flow equivalent instead of a... Okay, so, any questions on that one? If not, somebody wish to move it?
I'll move it for information.
Laura moves it. Any question on Laura's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. Okay, year to date?
I do have a question under culture.
Yes.
What is classed under culture?
The library, some
Okay,
program.
I think I asked that the last time.
You did.
I did, thank you.
Yeah.
So would somebody please remind me?
And the reason why the expenses are 119,000 is we forwarded the entire budget for the library. We do that at the beginning of the year, so the majority of our expenditures for that happen first thing in the year. So.
I've written it down this time, maybe I'll remember, maybe not.
Well, there are other ones that fall under culture too.
There are, but it's
Not
there
nearly,
are lots
not,
of the,
not huge ones.
the
like
bulk
that, yeah.
the bulk of the culture budget. It's $93,000 for the
The
library.
library, yeah.
And then, of course, there's our Chinook Arch and all of that over there as well, memberships.
Okay, any other questions on any other ones? Did you have a comment?
No, for Lorna's comment, we are where we should be with this as far as expenditures and revenue.
Okay.
Move to receive for information.
Paul moves. Any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. Moving on to correspondence.
Have we ever had anything to do with this Alberta Planning and Exchange?
Couldn't find any information.
Okay, any questions on any of those four?
Just think it was nice that the organizers for the hockey fundraiser, and that's just to send a thank you. I think that was nice of them, and I think it's a job very well done by those people for the first time to be able to do that.
Yeah, they more than exceeded their goals, which was awesome. They did a great job for.
What was their goal?
Their original goal was pretty low, a couple, that $15,000, I think, so. I don't wanna say that on record, but, that was some of the numbers that I heard, so the fact that they got to where
The
they.
fact that they need it is a bonus.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't think we had a real idea how successful it could be or potentially, because, you know, it has never been done in this community. I think they've seen it in other communities where they've done something similar, but I think, you know, these two young fellows, they, you know, have taken it on to spearhead it, and then they had all the assistance and help from so many people in the community. And I think they're right, you know, it's pretty hard to pick out people because you always seem to forget someone, but it was nice that they did it, and it was a good cause,
And they had rotten weather.
Yeah, they
yeah,
did.
they had material with it.
Stu mentioned teasing them that, maybe they could organize another one for some boilers. So.
Probably wouldn't hurt to send him a letter of congratulations.
We can definitely do that.
Okay,
if you wanna-
did you have a question, or?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
No, that's
I was
okay.
kinda looking down
I'll
here.
make a motion to that effect.
Okay, so, Paul moves that we send a letter of appreciation for the work that they did too for our community. Any question on,
They are doing it on our behalf.
any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, anything else on the other three or four? Three, I should say. As I was going out of the house today, I did get an email from High River Windcraft Hockey Villa 2018. And we did
We did
one
it a couple
time,
years ago.
a couple of years ago, and anyway, it says we were reaching out to all our fellow Albertan towns to ask for your help in voting for High River, Alberta to be the winner of the 2018. And so all it is asking for is anybody that knows or wants to vote. It says voting begins March 30th at 10 a.m. goes until March 31st at 6:30 p.m. www.crafthockeyvilla.ca. It just says, please share with your community members and anyone. The other ones that are involved in it, there's one from Saskatchewan, one from Ontario, and one from somewhere else. So like there's only 4, but this is the only community in Alberta. So if you think about it and want to participate, I just got it as I was walking out of the house, so
So it's just 1 day voting?
it's only 1 day voting, and you can vote as many times as you want. It's,
And that's the 31st?
yeah, it's the 30th at 10 a.m. and goes until March 31st at 6:30 p.m. It says www.crafthockeyvilla.ca. And then, like I said, there'll be 4, participants there, and you can vote for whoever you wish. But being it's the only Alberta one, and they're close, they're asking for. So I didn't. Like I said, just came today, so I didn't
We
get
can just
it.
forward the email.
Look forward. Gee.
Sure, we can forward it to everybody.
Okay, sounds good. So if you know of anybody that's interested, send it on, that'd be great. So anything else on correspondence or information items? Hearing none, somebody wish to move it? George G. Any question on George G's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, moving on to the reports. Any questions on any of the
I was
reports?
surprised how tardy joint use is.
Yeah, they're only supposed to meet, they're usually supposed to meet twice a year, but we're gonna have a meeting right away again because some of the stuff that came up on the meeting on this one.
Just attended one, did you not?
Yeah, just on Monday, I think it was, the 12th, well, it would have, yeah,
And this one's almost a year,
almost a year old.
3/4.
So anyway, yeah, I think they're gonna try and have one in April, because there's some concerns, but most of the stuff here too, a lot of it was just, is really quite minor stuff, really. It's just, a booking system that, they're having to work around, and, but. Okay, anything on Twin Valley Water Commission, first one?
I guess my question to Paul is, everything seems to be going smoothly?
Yeah, I just got a request for information from the auditor today. Any sign of anything untoward? No.
We'd like to hear that.
Okay, maybe the second one from Waste Commission. Pardon? Or the Watershed, sorry, Water Commission, yeah, sorry. Okay, moving on to the Fire Services Committee. Okay, moving on to the Water Commission again.
On the, going back to the fire, says, third point, in addition, one brush truck shall be ordered and paid 100% by the county. True.
But in the paper, it said that they were going to buy one right now.
Yeah, and indeed, my initial letter said, some months down the road.
There is one there, it's on the same one, it says, third bullet up from the bottom, it said, concerns raised in regards to limiting the membership to 20, then it says table till next meeting. It can't be tabled, because when it's tabled, you have to deal with it on the table at the time. It was referred to the next meeting. There's a couple committees that you gotta be careful on that too. If you look in Robert's Rules, parliamentary procedures, and also there's another one, tabling motion means it'll come up later in that same meeting. A referring motion brings it to the next meeting or until whenever you want to put it on, but yeah, just
I'll take my order to the,
there's a couple other, committees that do it. I mean, it's nothing in a way, unless somebody
Called you on it.
calls you on it.
yeah. No, I will let our secretary know.
Okay. And then, so anything else on that one there?
Why are you limiting it to 20 members?
And actually, the last meeting I was at, we had further discussion, because it was tables, carried over. It's economics. And right now, there's 14 that regularly attend. And saying, why should we be carrying 25 if we can only get 14? And Stuart Larson wants to standardize throughout all the fire halls within the community or within the county. But we are having issues on that one.
Well, if you're tabling it, I'll let you.
I want it opened up, and I believe most people want it opened up.
It scares me when you have so many and then you maybe brush a couple aside, then all of a sudden these people leave the community or whatever. And then these people have now decided, well, they wouldn't let me on before, I'm not coming. To me, it just is by limiting it, it limits who you might be able to get.
I couldn't agree more.
Would you like me to come to me? I'm sure they'd love to listen to you.
Well, I can do the golf course one next time.
No, you can't. Because, I'll tell you later.
Okay, so any questions any more on the fire? Moving on to the next water one, is there any questions on that one? I have a question. Lori Lickman made the motion, but was she in favor or opposed? It doesn't say that she's even in, I mean, she made the motion.
I know she was in favor, but I didn't catch that. I will talk to our person who's taking minutes.
I like the fact that you can see when you answer your emails.
Yeah. She made,
Okay, and
it
again,
should actually, from Lori, take two.
she should have made a motion and then
Yeah,
she should have
voted on it.
voted on it, and she might have voted at 12:23 because she made the motion. And now maybe, when I read that, it looks like Lori made the motion, but she wasn't even there. Or she didn't participate, she didn't vote on it. That's the way I would read it, and I'm not sure I'm sure it's just a clerical error. It's just that farther on, these minutes have already been approved. So,
Yeah.
but anyway. Okay, moving on. Any other questions on that other one? Okay, we'll move on to FCSS agenda. And the FCSS board meeting. Yeah,
So you were absent, but you didn't regret it? Okay, just check. I'm just curious about that one.
I don't even know what that means. Sometimes it just says absent, and other times it says absence with regrets.
You,
So
with
what's the
regrets
difference?
is you phone in and
You
say,
should let them know before.
like Michelle
Michelle
did.
this evening.
She, so you had been absent with regrets.
Well, I did let her know before. I
Yeah,
don't know what
but
Carol
that-
said.
That should have been,
Maybe you didn't say you were sorry.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to say
I'm sorry, I
next
will
time.
not be available this evening.
Okay.
okay. We're gonna get these people all whipped into shape on how.
No.
Some of the
We're
committees,
not gonna
They're
send these
gonna
on.
be putting us on all those committees.
or, yeah, they're gonna stop
I'm getting
submitting
to
their
the point where
minutes.
I'm getting minutes a week or 2 weeks after the meeting rather than 2 months after the
Oh,
meeting.
it is excellent, really, I mean, and I'm bad at trying to get my stuff in too, but. Anything else, any questions on LCSS? Okay, we'll move on to the waste this time.
Greg wasn't absent with regrets, he was just absent.
Usually he says he will be there,
Oh, okay, so.
and then never shows
That
up.
never comes. I don't think he would be in the regret pile.
Any questions on that one? Okay, moving back on to the water commission.
I told you we were getting caught up.
Yeah, no, that's good, but again, you know, these have been approved, but yet there's a potential error in the one.
No, the minutes haven't been approved.
Yeah, it says, approved of previous minutes of February the 6th, February 21st, email ones, and the email one was the one where they had an error. So it was approved, but there's an error.
I don't have words.
Anyway, it's nitpicky little,
That's what gets you caught up sometimes though.
and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, I'm just saying that, you know, I think if we can help each other out by finding little
Oh, couldn't agree more.
nuances, I think we need to help each other out. Okay, no questions on that one, we'll move on to the golf course. Any questions on golf course? Okay, someone else will start going around the room. Lauren, did you want to start?
Sure. I had a health and wellness emergent meeting on Wednesday, March 14th, instead of this Wednesday, the 28th. And so we won't be having one on the 28th. From that, the fitness challenge will run from April 16th to the May 27th, so if anyone wants to get their name in. The casino dates are July 22nd and 23rd, and I'm sure they're looking for helpers. And they are going to have a groundbreaking ceremony once AHS approves the tender. And I was at a workshop today, and they still haven't responded, so we don't have a date for they were hoping to have it at the 1st of April, but the 1st of April's quickly approaching, but we also don't know where the ground is, there's 3 feet of snow, so it probably isn't such a bad thing. I went to the golf club meeting for Paul, and the annual general meeting is April 12th at 7 p.m., so that's why I said you can't go, and neither can I. And actually, I'm at one place and you're at another, but neither one of us can go, so I don't know if we just leave it as is. And today I was at a workshop for the health and wellness strategic planning session, and they had someone come in, and they were looking at expectations from the board. What are our expectations for the wellness center? Sharing our vision and goals with the supporters and stakeholders. It was very good. It was quite draining, and we were in the Kinsman room, so you're kind of in the dark all day, and it was a nice sunny day, but I think they made quite a bit of progress, and it was really informative for me because I didn't really understand totally the whole concept of a wellness center, and so went into great detail, and I think we all kind of came to a consensus at some point as to what we thought. So that was really good, and I think that was it. Oh, and we came up with 4 goals, and I'll go on here if anybody wants to.
Okay, any questions for Laura? Okay, move on to Laura.
Okay, well, I was at Canadian Badlands. I really enjoyed that conference. I not only got stuff out of it for town, but also for the store, which was kind of a plus. The first presentation we went to was by Paul Huschilt, I'm hoping I pronounced that correct. He had tips to lower stress, and just, it was almost more of a show than a presentation. He was everywhere. It was, now I've got all the notes if anybody wants to know those 6 tips to lower their stress. The other one we went to was for an app called On This Spot, and it's basically an app that you get historical photos and they put them on the app, and then they go back to those places and recreate them. So say for example, out front of this building there was a picture from 1947. They would go back and take the same photo now so that you could go through and follow the tour and have both photos to reference. Vancouver is, from what I understand, on board and just about done. Calgary and Edmonton are expected to get on the app next year. There's Strathmore is also on the app, and they have it worked in with their grade 2 school curriculum. So the kids go and follow that as part of their, their history and their social studies. And the report of the people that came said the kids loved it because it's an interactive and they're busy, right? Kids always like that better. Roger Brooks did a good presentation. He said that people are looking for more of a pedestrian experience where you don't have to drive, you can kind of like walk the downtown. Malls are on the downhill slide, downtowns are coming back to what people are considering more important. And 80% of spending from people who aren't staying is downtown. Overnight visitors spend an average of 4 times more than people that just come for the day. And 70% of spending is after 6. So my mom and I have discussed it, and we're going to try for June being open till 8 Thursday and Friday. Just see what happens. Couldn't hurt to try, right? And one other thing that was kind of neat I found out is that 2 of the fastest growing areas of tourism are wildlife, birding. Apparently people will drive hundreds of miles to see a bird they've never seen before. And culinary, food. People will drive many, many miles for a place they've been recommended to eat. So Grant and Michelle and I have bounced around a few ideas in that department. There will be a presentation to come, but Michelle's away, so that meeting between the 3 of us hasn't happened yet. I was also at Community Futures for Michelle. Community Future stats from the couple of meetings I've been to, their stats are always through the roof up there. The only one that's not is their write-offs, and there was concern they weren't lending enough because their write-offs were too low. But they're lending as much as they should be. John, who the head of it, is going to be retiring in about a year, so they're looking for his replacement starting now. And they have a similar thing where they do the community reports like we do, but they're changing them up from what is happening in your town to what is coming up and how could we potentially help. So that could, I don't know where that could lead. It could go any number of wonderful places. I was also at VBIT. Apparently Axia is going to do a channel on VTV. They're looking at doing an app with like a Vulcan ear Snapchat filter, so you can be wandering around Vulcan and take a picture and add your Vulcan ears to it. The tech club is still doing well. The Varley grant, I guess, has been resubmitted. There's an SIP grant that was submitted through the county. And the one other thing I have is the 5,000 they're looking for every year, which is also on our agenda. Okay.
Any questions for Laura? Hearing none, we'll move over to Lyle.
On March 19th, the Vulcan and District Chamber of Commerce was scheduled to hold its AGM and elections. However, due to a lack of membership turnout, there was no quorum and no elections were held. From that, we were in touch with the Alberta Chambers of Commerce to see what we do, because there's basically nobody left on the executive. Whether people just haven't been there basically literally from day one, or other volunteers are just worn out. So the chambers, we were given 3 options. You could call an emergency meeting, try and get everybody together from the community, members and non-members, and put together an executive. You could, the chamber could go into what's called a dormant stage, where people can, the chamber's still together, but there's no ears to awards, there's no advocacy, nothing like that. Or the chamber could dismantle and quit, be no more. But then if the chamber ever, the Vulcan chamber ever decided to start up again, those chamber members who are already using chamber's benefits package would go, if the Vulcan chamber dissolved, they would go to a different chamber, and we'd never get those people back. So the president of the chambers can be distributing an email to our membership to see what people want to do. It's looking more like we're going to be, chamber's going to be in a dormant status. Once again, no longer participating in things such as lunch and learns, ears to you awards, or advocacy. If the chamber does not dissolve, they can still become active again in the future as soon as we get enough volunteers to take on the position. People who are taking advantage of the group insurance plans now, people can still pay their annual dues, and you would still get your benefits, because you must pay for your local chamber, and then from there you get onto the Alberta Chamber, and to get the benefits you got to be part of the Alberta Chamber. So hopefully people will step up to the plate, but in my opinion, maybe it's time for some revamping for the chamber, because we're not the only ones that are having a hard time getting volunteers and getting people to show up. So that's kind of where we're at this point.
That's too bad. Any questions for Lyle? No, thank you. Moving on, Georgia Lee.
I was at FCSS. They've got a lot of programs going on right now. They've got the A Day of Poverty. They've got productive parenting. They've got women's wellness. There's quite a few of them going on, actually. They're having a problem getting a fire door put in. Every contractor that Carol phones, they never get back to her. So she's tried a couple different ones, and she said she'll try another person again and see what they come up with. She said the tax clinic was going fairly well. The breakers went down there, so the freezer shut off and thawed out a whole bunch of stuff that they had to cook up really fast, like turkeys and stuff like that. So anyway, they got that fixed. It needed some new parts or something in the circuit board or whatever, but they got that fixed. They did, Michael Warner did a report on Rainbow Literacy is going to move into the old VBDS building. and that they're gonna take that over. So they're quite excited about that. And the only other thing that was brought up was the big G3 elevator in Kermagate that they're looking at building. Anyway, it was, I guess they're seriously looking at building this huge elevator. It's G3 is a company out of Saudi Arabia and the United States. It's the owners of this big company, and it'll be a rail line that doesn't have any side entrances. They just put it on a big loop to loop the cars around. They said it has to go on a quarter section of land to build this elevator, so the train can loop around it and fill it up. But, and that was about it. That's the only one I went to.
How to make note of the numbers of the property. Last year they were
She's-
too short.
She's got them, and she's got a couple on the list just in case any of these people phone and cancel. And she's got people on the list that she can phone that will step up, so I think she's doing okay with it.
When is the women's wellness?
Oh, I forget. I'll look on my paper when I get home and I'll email it to you, the date on it.
Okay, any questions for George Lee? Hearing none, Paul?
Other than the fire meeting, that was it. And you've got the substance of it already.
Okay. Any questions for Paul? Okay. Move it to yours. Mr. Foss?
So, in the last 2 weeks, council, at the last council meeting, approved the local improvements as long as we didn't receive substantial objections. So we've sent letters out to everyone. We didn't receive substantial opposition to either of the ones. Just so that you know the numbers in case any of the residents do talk to you about it. On the 400 block, we had 2 that were opposed, 2 were in favor, and 10 that had no response. Now, that was quite disturbing to me, the 10 no response. We actually phoned a couple of people and they said, well, it said right on it, if we don't respond, we're in favor of it. So that was enough to me to say that it was good. The 500 block, we had a much better response. We had 3 opposed, 6 that sent in that they were for, and then 6 that sent in with no response. So we sent letters to every homeowner letting them know these numbers and that we were going to proceed. It's been, it's out to tender right now. They've had the site meeting. They're making amendments to the tender as the questions come in from the contractors, and the closing will be the end of this week, and hopefully we will have a recommendation from the engineers and Public Works for awarding the tender at your next council meeting. So that's where we are with the local improvements. The Emergency Management Agency training that council approved for April 10th is coming up quickly. The county contacted me today and was wondering if they could get numbers from you guys about whether you can attend or not, so that they can start putting things together. So if you could let me know as quickly as possible, I will shoot that off to them. The Pool Ad Hoc Committee will be meeting this week. We've got some of the budget quotes back, so to review. The request went out to meet this week or early next week, so hopefully we'll have some information from that. The parade float, we've talked to Gary and he's willing to do the work on it, but he's made a request that he would like one person representing town council to give him direction so that he doesn't end up in a spot like they did the last time where there's 5 or 6 people giving different ideas. He is very humble sometimes, but he says, no, I'm just a welder, but he is also a very creative welder. So from that, if council does want to have a discussion and to appoint one person to be that go-to person for Gary, that would be great. And of course the uniforms, Kathleen came in and showed the prototype that she has put together, and you've all had a chance to see it. She's going to go on individually contacting, we'll arrange for going out and having measurements taken and so that she can proceed. Her time frame on it is going to be a little bit longer, but that's based on having to modify the pattern that she has. So she's just wanted you to be very aware that the process will be a little bit longer than what she originally anticipated, but as you saw from the quality is there, so. And that's what I have for right now.
Okay. Any questions for Kim first?
Do you think that like for the Spot Days parade, are we gonna be in it, do you think?
Hopefully. I can't make that promise because of course she hasn't made one, like she's made the prototype, but hasn't made one fitted one yet, so.
So the float won't be.
Oh, the float won't be this year based on the changes that were discussed, so.
We could still go in it though.
Oh, yeah,
If
absolutely.
you're gonna get golf carts or something.
Absolutely.
Might
You
have to
know,
ride
might
the
have
truck.
Yeah.
for
Fire
the,
truck.
for the Spock Days Parade, council's participation, it will still be there, whether it be like Tom said, walking, or we could go back to the convertibles, you know, make some phone calls and see if we can line up some cars and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Your uniforms don't stand out as well when you're in a convertible as they do on a float, so.
So, any other questions for Kim? The only other one we need is we should need to appoint somebody to represent council on the float committee to deal, or to represent.
Just a liaison between Gary and that, so that he doesn't mind working with Stu, but of course Stu on the other side of it says, I don't know what council wants this float to be, and he doesn't wanna be on the, for
Okay,
lack of
so-
a better term, he doesn't wanna be on the hook for it.
So would you have to take just the information from council to Gary, then from
No,
Gary
I-
says bring it back?
No, I think you want it on a daily basis, so when he's doing something, he has somebody that can
Yeah.
go out.
He wants to know if he wants to cut the entire back end of the float off, somebody from council will say yes or no.
Yeah, so,
Do you have time to do that?
yeah, I would like to, you know,
Okay,
participate in that.
I'll make the motion that we put Tom on it then.
Okay, thanks, Treasurer.
You've got the most history.
Yeah?
Any question on George Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? That's great, thank you. Was there anything else from you?
Not from.
No, okay. Please let me know. Okay, any other questions for Kim? If not, then I'll just do mine, which is kind of quick, because I did give you the one on the joint use. I did go to a meeting prior to Lorna with the hospital building committee, and we discussed some of the things that came out of the tender process. So now, like I said, it's gonna be AHS's direction. I also went to they're kind of changing the name, but the doctor retention and recruitment, they're trying to change it to staffing, you know, retention and recruitment, because we've got enough doctors right at the moment, but their concern is you know, do they need other staff in other areas, so. But anyway, yeah, it was well attended, and they just discussed mainly Dr. Webster's retirement and Dr. Wade's, and cutting back on some of his hours a bit, and what direction, you know, things are gonna move forward. I think everybody's kind of waiting with bated breath for the new addition to come along, so. This week I do have a couple meetings coming up, so, but I guess we'll talk about them next month, or next council meeting, but this has been a busy week. Any questions for any of the ones that I was on? Okay, hearing none, can somebody wish to move the community administration reports, Laura, as presented? Any question on that? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to bylaw number 1465-17-A, local improvements. This is on the 2nd Street 100 block, and this is to reflect the change in the policy, which eliminated the interest, which changes the process. So it makes it cheaper or for the ratepayers on that block.
It removes it just completely removes the interest from the original bylaw, is all that it does. It's an amendment, so that's why we numbered it A. So the schedules A and B have changed to reflect no interest.
Okay, so you have a question on?
I was just gonna say, didn't we kind of do this before the previous meeting, or this just makes it official on these ones, or?
Every local improvement has its own separate and unique bylaw.
Okay.
So you addressed it, said that you were going to change it, and so now we're going back and changing our local improvements that we have outstanding that have already been passed. So this is an amendment to that to reflect that you're not going to charge interest on it.
Right, okay, fair enough.
The first one that we did, the first local improvement, were the folks on that part of it charged interest?
Yes, so those ones are, that was that little chunk on First Street South and then Third Avenue, and those were because they requested the local improvement. The town didn't go in and do that.
Okay.
And that's how you worded that motion, so if the homeowners are the ones that bring it forward, you guys set the rates and of course, it's unexpected, so a lot of times you have to borrow the money or, so for this, the way you worded your policy is that if it is originated by council and that you don't have to borrow money, which is what happened on this one,
On the Second Street
on Second Street
And
and Fourth
Fourth.
Street.
and on the new,
And if we continue with the same plan where you're putting the reserves away, technically unless costs jump significantly, you should be always 1 year ahead, so you will not have to borrow. If, of course, the next council could say, we're not putting the reserves away, then you have to borrow for it. You can continue going, but then you start charging interest again.
so this is to correct the one on Second. There's 2 blocks on Second, so that's why this, you'll see the 2 come up, and then
Fourth is a
Fourth,
brand new.
brand new one. And then once we,
That's the pretty.
okay, so Lorna's gonna move the first reading. Any question on Lorna's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Second reading,
Okay, second reading.
Georgia Lee. On second reading, any question on Georgia Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Now to introduce the third. Paul. Any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Now, third reading.
There you got your unanimous vote.
Well, we had unanimous vote
No,
on the, to introduce.
to introduce, yeah.
It was unanimous, oh, sorry. Lyle's gonna move the third. Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, now moving on to 1466-17A, which is the next block up, the 200 block. And so is there any questions on this? Hearing none, somebody wish to, Paul moves the first reading. Any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Second, oh, George Lee's gonna move it, okay, thank you. Any question on George Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. To introduce the third, Laura? Any question on Laura's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, it's unanimous, like you said, Paul, thank you. Number 3, Lorna. Okay, any question on Lorna's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, again, thank you.
This is a little bit off topic, but what about the grass?
Oh, it's dead.
Oh, the sod?
So, yeah.
Yes, and it's still marked as a deficiency, so.
Some had a bit of a luck
Some
of trying to bring it back, but it's,
Maybe the snow will revive.
yeah.
I was gonna say, that with the luck that we've had on that so far, it'll have snow mold.
Okay, moving on to,
Don't put that in the paper, please.
we don't need any more about
We don't
that.
need any more bad luck with that project.
Okay, moving on to the fire agreement, services agreement, bylaw number 1471-18. Everybody have an opportunity to look it over?
We will, if I
Go
may, Mr. Mayor, with We'll do the first reading, and then I would like to propose an amendment to a line that was brought up in its section 6.3 of the agreement. And I've already confirmed with the county that we'd like to change this, and it was just a wording that got overlooked. And 6.3, the very last portion of it, says it's about the storing of any new purchases of apparatus, and it says that it'll be located at the premises owned by the Vulcan County. That was supposed to be changed to the Vulcan Fire Station. So the amendment will be to replace premises owned by the Vulcan County and replaced with Vulcan Fire Station.
That would happen after the first reading.
Yeah, so you do your first reading, and then you can open it up for amendments, so then you make a motion to amend based on that, and then you can go into your third,
I'll do the
your
first
second and third. So-
Okay, so George Lee moves the first motion. Any question on George Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, now we need a mover of an amendment to 6.3. So, well, I'll give it to Paul.
Very quick.
Well, there's reasons. Anyway, any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, now the second reading of the amended bylaw. Okay, thank you, Lyle. Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. So now we need somebody to move the introduction of the third. Laura. Any question on Laura's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried unanimously. Again, thank you, Paul, for that one. And then the introduction, or the third reading, Lorna.
Can I ask a question? It's a
Sure.
little late
No,
from
go ahead,
third
ask.
reading, but is this quite agreeable with the fire committee?
Yes.
They reviewed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't do a background.
No,
report.
sorry, I assumed that, but then I thought maybe I should
Okay.
at least ask.
They all had a copy of it. And there was no questions or anything,
Okay.
concerns.
Just the one wording thing. Okay.
And I have contacted the county, they're aware that we're going to amend, and as soon as we have it approved, I'm amending it, sending it there, and it'll go to their next meeting. So,
Okay, so any other questions before we ask the third and final reading? Hearing nothing, all in favor? It's carried again, thank you. Okay, moving on to 147218, which is the local improvements tax.
This is a brand new one for the 4th Street South, we've got all our final costs. We're anticipating at maximum, there'll be a $2,500 difference, and that's just to deal with anything on a deficiency level, and we're not anticipating it, so we're comfortable with putting totals into the local improvement, $453,000.
Okay, any questions on this one at all? Sorry,
I'll move first reading.
Paul moving first. Any question on Paul's motion?
Do the residents realize this is happening?
Yeah, the only difference might be is the numbers, will have dropped.
Yeah, no, but I just
From what
wondered,
they're
yeah, we like to see them drop.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was paying, I would.
If
You will,
if you would like an interesting note on this, the $113,322 is within $200 of one of the other blocks that we did.
Oh.
So our pricing on the local improvements is getting fairly consistent.
Okay, so any question on Paul's motion, first motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, second,
I'll do second.
George Lee, thank you. Any question on George Lee's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Introduction of the third. Lyle? Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Moving on to the third and final. Laura? Okay, thank you. Any question on Laura's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to this flyby.
If I can, we are trying to bring all of the spot day stuff up front, but because of the timing on this, we want to ask for it separate from all of the rest of the things that will be coming from spot days, like the road closures, the cabaret and all of that. They sent this
Sent
information
to
directly to Tom, so Tom got it off to us, we put everything together, Bonnie was aware of it. So you've got the full report. They have to have a letter with the very, very specific
We're needing
first paragraph in there, and Karen was nice enough to do the appreciation paragraph afterwards, so we need approval to go ahead with that if council would like to do that. We have had a flyby in the community before.
Do we have to pick which way they're gonna fly now?
No.
It just
they-
kind of
they-
depends on the date?
Yeah,
It depends on the wind.
Okay,
they just needed an alternate
Yeah,
direction to go.
so we just need a motion to allow it to happen. Question, Lon?
motion.
Oh, I was gonna make the
Oh,
motion.
okay, Lars moving.
Pardon me.
I know.
It's whoever can get Tom's attention fastest
Yeah, well, I
these
saw,
days.
well, I wasn't sure, but anyway, okay.
Good thing we're not at an auction.
That's right. Yeah, you both could own this.
You can both own a flyby.
Okay, any question on Lars' motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, go ahead, Lars.
It's not, it wasn't a question regarding the motion, but I was just wondering, are the, is the Legion gonna be, any representation there or anything, do we know?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, I mean, this was kind of a one that I think, it came to one of the girls and she kind of brought it forward to see, you know, they're trying to find more things, different things, but I don't know what they have done with that, but that's a good question, I'll ask.
Because they've had it, Stampeder football games, and that's just, you know, it gives you chills when they fly back, and then if they do a fly back, it's a cool thing, but it's also like a military, appreciation thing, and maybe, yeah, it's their thing, I'm sure they'll probably contact the Legion.
And through our confirmation of this, when we send the approval, we can have that conversation and see if there's any tie to the Legion.
Yeah, just tossing it out there.
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, thank you.
It is Sunday, so if
Yeah.
anybody's in church late, they'll be in for a shock.
Okay, yeah, at 3 o'clock on Sunday in church,
Yeah.
okay. Well, obviously you haven't been to church,
I haven't been for a while.
right? Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
I did see a few of you there this week, though.
Okay, replacement of arena condenser and boilers. This was one that we discussed at our event in Lethbridge, and it's kind of showed its ugly head a little bit better, I think, at the end of, getting towards the end of the season, that they definitely would like to replace it, so.
For anybody that's had a chance, if you drive by the backside of the arena and have a look at the condenser, it's, we're gonna take photographs of it so that we can put together the package, but it's a substantial amount of ice now, so. And the pricing that we came in, obviously came in a lot cheaper than what we originally anticipated when we all did the tours. So through that, I've contacted the county because of course we share costs on this and kind of give them a preemptive. We just want some direction from council to start moving ahead so that we can possibly do this in the off season.
Once again, just tossing it out there, I think the Lowland rink, they got some upgrades from the NHL Players Association. When they did their flooring and stuff years ago, is that a possibility that maybe someone could look at, as we could get maybe some funding from?
So in the funding options, we'll have Bonnie explore what's available out there for us as well.
And I think the NHL players did all the boards and the glass, which is substantial.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll explore, and that's why that line is to include funding options.
Okay.
So we may be able to access some grants for a portion of it.
Okay.
Okay, so any thoughts on the motion?
I would move it
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
before allowing it.
For a while.
So this is just, like you say, the proposal,
This is to give us direction to start moving forward. We hate going out and getting prices and getting everybody all excited and then bring it to council and go, oh geez, we can't afford that.
Okay, any questions on Lorna's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, the next one, request for continued support from VTV.
Ray came in, chatted with me, brought the proposal forward. I know that you guys talked about it at your meeting. The background to this is they basically, a few months ago, or a month and a half ago, just asked for it, and of course thought it was going, there was a misunderstanding by a couple people that it was going to be a reoccurring thing. And of course, that's why I included council's first discussion with it, where the funding came from and why it was, that it was a one-time. It was because that was your initial investment in the VTV. So, again, provided all of the information that we have, did comparison, and then of course also contacted iCompass. And they do a very similar service for the funding that's proposed in
So is iCompass just the one for the,
there. They're the
Meetings?
they're the one that we're looking at for the agenda and minutes.
but not the council meetings?
Yes, what they have a module that's attached to their software that will allow you to record the meetings. And what they do is they take the recording and then they timestamp it to your agenda and your minutes. So if you are on our website looking for a specific thing, you can, if you don't want to sit through the hour of the meeting or the 2 hours of the meeting, and you want to know just about your local improvement, you can go and watch specifically that. But that's specific to that company, and like I said, they charge $300-400 a year. The nice part about VTV is they're local, and they were started by the community, so.
Yeah, I phoned Ray myself and got it, because I thought they were just maybe looking mainly at the council meeting, but then he did say tourism, which I think would be, now that we're kind of in charge of tourism, it would be a really good fit for us if we start using it. Now, I think that's the
And that's
catch, we
why,
have
that's
to
why I
start using
included,
it.
that's why I included Bonnie's report, because they've been focusing more on the social media side. They did try with VTV for a while, but of course, doing the recordings and that was taken away from the programming end, because they were spending time doing that, so. I think you guys had a discussion about it at a recreation level, did you not, Georgia?
And then library two, I think, has had a discussion with VTV to see if, because I remember seeing something in the minutes about,
Providing content.
I'm not sure what
I
it
think
was
Cody was
exactly.
looking at supplying some ideas or videos or something.
I just
She had
remember
a
seeing
plan
it.
of something that was gonna be contributed, I think.
It's a substantial amount of money every year in the budget for that.
And
money.
the
It was
motion was for a one-time,
the original one.
The original one.
And that was, if you remember, we bought shares and then we had to get ministerial approval to buy shares in the company, and we went through that whole process. And it was contingent on the county buying the other half, because it was a $10,000 investment. We invested our half, and then when VTV went back to the public side, they gave that $5,000 back, so council decided to give that as a one-time grant, because that was that initial investment in VTV that was going to keep it going, so. To have it become recurring is a change in philosophy.
So what else are we funding in FO6?
It is STARS, Rainbow Literacy, Victim Services, Legion,
So,
daycare, no, so it is not in recurring.
Oh, and, oh, what, oh, sorry, I
Sorry,
misunderstood.
in
Yeah,
policy
yeah,
F06.
yeah.
Yeah, STARS, Victim Services, the Legion, the daycare, Rainbow Literacy. There's another one.
We did we not do, one that Lyle reported on was gonna.
Oh, the Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. And theirs is based on membership.
Membership.
The Legion's is based on their taxes. The Rainbow Literacy is a direct request. Victim Services is a flat 5,000, and the daycare is a flat 5,000. And the STARS is per capita, $2 per capita. And they're all identified with their own conditions on the recurring grant portion of it. So the daycare one, Victim Services, are dependent on them showing us our financial statements saying that they're not just putting money in the bank and not using it. So they all have their own conditions.
Could we offer that we would do it for 1 year and look at it at the end of that time?
You can always,
You should.
there's lots of options here,
Options,
that's
yeah.
why I didn't make
And
a
I mean, there could be some
recommendation.
other things that, we've never seen, I mean, are we buying the service, are we, wanna put other clauses in there, or we'd like to see their financial statements, where they're spending their money, so,
We could do that.
I mean,
I just would like to see, not to cut it off just right now, let it to go ahead and I guess prove to us that as a community service, it's worthwhile. I think a lot of education has to go into the public to learn to use it, and, I'm as bad as the next one about not going on there, but I think it's sort of like reading the paper. Maybe I didn't do it before, and now all of a sudden I do all the time. Is it just a learned?
Lyle, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to see some, for lack of a better term, some accountability, because I think VTV was doing well and had some momentum, and then it kind of fell off. I know they had some transition there. I can see some value in it, like with, like for our seniors, I know some of them, well, my aunt was one of them, getting a kick out of it, just her thing on making BUFSA. And it was kind of a thing that was kind of promoted around town, and, with the communities in bloom and that, but then it just kind of seemed to fall off. Personal experience, I know, Magnus and Realty, we had videos in there that were up to date for a while, and then things fell off. And then they restructured, and it just hasn't happened again. So I think if the town's gonna invest the money into it, if we're spending, or if we're giving our communities money for this, then we should make sure that they are accountable.
Our current involvement with VTV for content is if they do contact one of the departments for a short video. As far as council goes, that USB. We record the meetings, I do that. Carmen edits it for them and puts it up on the website. And you guys all obviously have looked at it. The editing is putting in the titles and just cutting the front and back and piecing it together, because this recording device that we're currently using does it in 20-minute segments, so they just put it into running, and that's the value that we get out of it, is actually editing that USB. Of course, as you also know from recording it for a couple of years, sometimes that recording device doesn't work properly, so that's all dependent on that. So.
But going back to Lorna's point, I don't think it's unreasonable that, okay, if we do it this time, you come to us next year, let's see your financials.
And then also, we really should try and promote them to, if they want to come back, that they come back in the fall, not
In October,
not
you're doing your
October,
budgeting.
when we're doing our budget, instead of in the spring when we've already got our budget set. I mean, we, theoretically, we do have budget a little bit of money in the area of advertising or, promotion of this and that. It was just one of the ones that we say fits in that same category. Bonnie's comments, the advantages, there is people that are watching these, previewing our sessions, and, it's a community tool for the residents too, and, the branding of our community, but on the other hand, there are other avenues that are being sought after and done that have factors to them too.
Maybe I'm confused on this part. Was it not at a meeting when VGIT first came in to talk to us, they said, it'll never cost the town, we'll never ask for it?
Oh, I'm sure there was. I think that they originally anticipated that they were gonna generate, substantial amounts of funds, and I think that just never happened. So I don't doubt that there was comments made on those accounts that they didn't expect that, but they expected that they'd receive more revenue than they are now. Being that it changed from a corporation into I don't know what VGIT falls under, but originally the BTV was a corporation of its own, and then it changed hands or changed back when Sandra bought back all the shares.
This is almost like a standalone community TV channel now.
It is.
Is how I
That's the
see
way I
it.
perceive it
is.
too.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they get their funding from for this, do you know, Laura, at all?
I'm not really sure, it's never really been clear.
And that might be the,
I think the majority of it that they're looking for now is advertising, that sort of thing, but it would of course be publicly driven.
I think the chamber sponsors business page for, $100 a month or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I think tourism could make this, work really well, but I think it would have to be dedicated to that. Someone would have to know what they were doing and go in and make sure it was up to date, because if it's not up to date, it's even worse than having nothing.
And see, we don't have any control from that side. We do.
But if we provide
We
them with
provide
the-
content,
Okay.
and that's where it comes, is the amount of time that we're spending, because we're paying staff to create the content. That's where we run into the biggest issue. The conversation from Recreation, they were doing a meeting and a recording every 2 weeks to go into it, but while they were doing it, they weren't out programming, or they weren't in the office doing, it. And so they looked at that time commitment, and that's where she said, they've looked at things through social media and that as well, because they're getting pretty good responses out of that. And why her comments are very open to review the services they provide and really do an evaluation on making sure that it meets the needs.
Mhm. That's what I guess I would suggest, is that, or move that we do this for 1 year, and they would have to, as you say, provide a financial statement and prove to us that it's a worthwhile venture, that it's our money well spent.
And funding from contingency?
I would assume so, huh?
Or do you want
Sure.
to add it to the?
If we don't have any other
Well,
requests.
we
You can add it to the amendment to the budget,
budget, but
but
I would
that's,
say
that
just
comes,
contingency right now, then, because
Yeah.
we're partway through, well, we're only in March.
well, you are gonna do amendments when you set the mill rate.
And the follow-on request should be by what, October 1st or 31st with financials?
That any further, be
Request.
be accompanied with a presentation and, before October 15th, something like that.
Maybe for rec, instead of having Bonnie and them do a recording, maybe they should just cover what rec is doing.
But-
Like be at some of those events.
And I think that's where VTV is struggling as well, because then they'd have to pay staff. They're not collecting enough money to pay somebody to be out there recording all that stuff.
Okay,
So I
fair.
think that's the catch. Things like our council meetings don't cost anybody anything, because I
Yeah.
push a button at the beginning, push it at the end. Carmen's time, I don't know how they're paying for that.
Well, for
That's-
Vulcan, maybe, because there's, Mason's doing photography, maybe it's something like a slideshow from the pictures. Instead of paying somebody to be out there, get copies of those photos and just make a slideshow of some of the events that are going on, because then you're not paying anybody to record it either,
Yeah.
right? The pictures are already there.
But that's up to them to
That's up to VTV,
figure out.
how they're gonna operate.
But on the other hand, you know, it's, we know other organizations that would do some of our, like at least our meetings for $3,400.
Yeah.
So the other $1,600 is to do the public stuff or the other stuff that potentially, it'd be nice to know more about VTV, how they work too, you know, I mean, not to, you know, I know I have a concept of VBIT, but I don't have a concept of VTV now since it's flipped over to VBIT, so. But Lorna does have a motion on the,
Just finishing drafting it.
What I said?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What everybody said,
Well, there.
we all had a kick at it.
well, you know, I'd hate to see it, you know, and I don't know how much other people, I mean, you know, Bonnie's comment is, you know, 30 to 40 viewers per session, but we don't know how many other people view VTV and then how many, you know, like if they're getting 4,000 or 5,000 a year, you know, that's quite an investment that's going on into the community. But if they're only getting 30 or 40 every, and hardly any from anybody else and anything else, you know, you kind of wonder, is it really worth it for them? And they must have some stats on that.
Well,
I
and
think.
we should analyze the numbers and, like you say, that probably should be part of the, if they have a presentation to us. Maybe they need to bring those kinds of numbers to us to let us know that it is a worthwhile.
So I think there's value there, when she's talking about social media. I mean, when VTV does have a little clip on, say that connects to a little clip, you know, it's 30, 40 seconds, and then people upload that to Facebook, and then they share that, and that's where people get their word from it. There's little updates from the chamber or tourism, and then it goes on to Facebook, and that directs them to VTV. But as long as they're consistent, if you're having an update once every 6 months from tourism or the chamber or whoever, I mean, that's not really the place to go to get the information. People want it now. So that's where if you have some accountability for them, maybe that'll prove its worth or not.
So I've drafted Lorna's motion approximately based on the comments from council that Lorna moves to provide a one-time grant to the Vulcan Business Initiative Team for $5,000, and any additional requests for funding will be received before October 15th, 2018, accompanied by financial statements and a presentation highlighting the value of ETV for the community. That's exactly what it said, right?
Absolutely. I haven't finished a sentence in my life.
That's what it sounded like to me.
I think so too.
Okay, does that pretty well satisfy your?
That's fine for me, yes.
Okay, any question on Lorna's motion? Do we need to, in the motion, say where it's gonna come from?
Oh, yes, the request,
Funds?
leave it for $5,000 to be drawn from contingency reserve. Is that?
Sure. Okay. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none on favor? Opposed? It's carried with one opposed. Okay, notices of motions. Hearing none, we have no management reports, so we need to go in camera for the two that we have. One is Legal matter, council may wish to close this portion of the meeting to the public under Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Regulation 18.1. And the second one, well, that's the second one, sorry.
18.1C.
Well, the first one's 18.1C and the second one was 18.1. I need a motion to go in camera. Lyle moves us in. Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just gonna turn the recording.
Oh, now we have to do this camera.
Okay, so Lorna moves us out of camera at 8:55. Any question on Lorna's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, so we need a couple motions as per discussed.
So the motion for new urban design letter of intent is to direct administration to inform new urban design that the proposed dry land condominium does not align with council's intended use for the described lands, and that at this time declines the request to enter into an agreement outlined in the letter of intent.
Okay, so Lyle moves that. Any question on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And the second one.
And Carvert Waite LLP offer of settlement, and the motion will be to direct administration to engage North and Company to represent the town of Vulcan in regards to the offer of settlement submitted by Carvert Waite March 14th, 2018.
So,
Paul moves this. Any question on Paul's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, adjournment. Laura?
On behalf of Michelle.
Sure.
Any question on Laura's motion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you, folks.